So the Russian government is finally trying to alleviate the horrendous economic conditions in which it finds itself, banning exports of gasoline starting on August 1st due to record prices. I spoke about this 2 days ago here. Record prices, a high we haven't seen since 2023, with the highest ever. 8 consecutive days, record after record. So now they're banning gasoline exports. I'll get into that in a minute. 2 more automotive companies. I mentioned it a couple days ago. We had the largest manufacturer of Russian automobiles, Avtovaz, is cutting down to a 4-day work week. Now it's not just Avtovaz. Following right away was Kamaz, the Kamaz truck company, also one of the largest manufacturers of cars in Russia, cars, trucks, buses, tractors. They're cutting down to a 4-day work week. And also the Gorky car manufacturing behemoth is also cutting down to a 4-day week. It is a week of apocalyptic proportions in the Russian auto industry, if you're employed in that industry. Especially. The other big news is we've got corporate earnings for May, according to Rosstat, the official statistics bureau of Russia. 41% down overall corporate earnings for May 2025, year over year. Oil and gas revenue for that month was down 34%, equally horrific. But compare it, let's look at the trajectory once again, as I like to always do. The month of April, corporate earnings was only down 18%, right? So 18% in April, and now we're down 41% in May across the board, corporate earnings, according to Rosstat. These are horrific numbers. So now it's going to be felt. I mean, this is the bottom line. These are corporate earnings, and these corporations have to pay workers. And they have dividends to pay out, and capital investments to make, and that must be difficult when you're down 41%. Someone on Twitter, when I mentioned the statistic earlier today, was like, "Yeah, but look at Germany." Yeah, okay, sure. I mean, it was probably Russian Troll Factory because that's the official line. But I mean, imagine if German corporate earnings in a time, say it's a non-pandemic or world war, were to be down 41% in a year. Okay, so don't compare it to, Germany maybe can have a down 4% in a year or something, a really bad year. 41%, okay, 41% corporate earnings. So that's only May. We're into July now. We won't get the June statistics for another couple weeks, but when we do, it should be equally awesome. But let's take a look at the Ukrainian drone attacks last night, because it was wide-ranging. They struck a number of chemical plants, gunpowder factory. Take a look. Ukrainian drones have carried out another wave of long-range strikes deep inside Russian territory. Over the past 2 nights, they've hit critical infrastructure tied to fuel, chemicals, and military logistics. Sochi, Stavropol, Tambov, and Rostov were among the regions hit. Each of these locations plays a key role in sustaining Russia's war effort. All were hit within hours. In Stavropol Krai, more than 20 drones struck the Nevinomysk Azot chemical plant, one of the largest industrial sites in southern Russia. The facility produces compounds with applications in explosives manufacturing. The mayor confirmed the scale of the strike. In Tambov Oblast, drones hit the Katovsk gunpowder plant. A fire broke out on site, confirmed by open-source analysts. The plant is a direct supplier of explosive materials for the Russian defense sector. In Rostov Oblast, strikes were recorded in Tagarog, Novocherkassk, and Salsk. One of the most significant was at Peshano-Kopskaya station, a key logistics hub. An explosion damaged the station building and the overhead contact network. Russian railways reported delays in 10 passenger trains, some of up to 5 hours. The line supports movement and fuel and equipment to Donetsk and the Mariupol axis, directly fueling Russia's war efforts. In Sochi, drones hit a Lukoil-operated oil depot near the Sirius district, sparking major fires. The site supports regional aviation fuel supply. Sochi International Airport was forced to suspend operations. According to airport officials, more than 30 flights have been delayed, 20 departures and 18 arrivals. Despite the presence of modern air defenses, the strikes went through. Russia closed airspace across Sochi, Stavropol, Tambov, Grozny, Nalchik, Magaz, and Vladikavkaz. But flight bans and press silence have not stopped the strikes or the damage. Ukraine continues to target the infrastructure that fuels, moves, and arms the invasion, and Russia continues failing to defend it. Economic squeeze, military squeeze, debt, it's all coming to a head for the Russian dictator. So this Gorky plant, the manufacturer that just announced a 4-day work week, I wanted to read you some of this. The Gorky automobile plant was switched to a 4-day work week in August this year due to a strong decline in the Russian commercial equipment market in the first half of the year. At least 30%, as much as 60%, depending on the segment, the plant's press service told RIA Novosti. Due to the critical decline in the commercial vehicle market, Gorky Automotive Plant will operate on a 4-day working week starting in August 2025. Due to the high central bank rate and the unavailability of financial instruments for the purchase of cars, the market decline in the first half of the year amounted to almost 40% in the segment of medium-duty trucks, over 30% in the segment of light commercial vehicles, and 60% in the segment of buses, the report says. The press service clarified that this measure will allow the plant to save jobs as well as adapt the production program to the market situation and organize a uniform load of production facilities. So any way you read this, they are about to lay off a lot of people and close manufacturing. They're doing this so it's not, because if they do a mass layoff, if they just let go 25% of the population, that's a lot of people. You've got hundreds of thousands of people. Just one plant that they're doing this, the Avtovaz plant, one of the Avtovaz plants has 30,000 people that they employ, and it's not structured in a very intelligent way. It's sort of like that whole city in Russia is centered around that industry. All the peripheral parts and specialty labor, it's all reliant on this massive factory and manufacturing. So it's easier just to boil the frog by slowly like, Ivan, we're going to cut your hours 25%. Is a lot easier to hear than 25% of the guys are just going to be drinking all day, and that's something that Russia is very sensitive to. We know about history and how this thing usually goes. Now over to Kamaz, the other car manufacturing behemoth in Russia that is moving to a 4-day work week. In the latest sign of Russian economic woes, Kamaz Truck Company cuts working week due to market collapse. Russia's largest truck manufacturer, Kamaz, will reduce its work week to 4 days starting August 1st due to a dramatic collapse in the domestic vehicle market, heavy vehicle market. The company announced on July 25th. Kamaz cited a nearly 60% year-on-year drop in demand for commercial trucks with payloads over 14 tons as the key reason behind the move. The crisis has led to a 28-fold decline in the company's net profit for 2024, and Kamaz shareholders will receive no dividends this year. In a statement on Telegram, the company blamed the downturn on foreign suppliers who allegedly flooded the Russian market with excess inventory, overshooting demand projections. Yes, it's not about the war. Right, anything but the war. Yeah, these Russians. More than 30,000 imported trucks now sit unsold in warehouses, the company said. Kamaz noted that a second factor was Russia's central bank tight monetary policy, which has kept interest rates high and credit access limited. As a result, more than 10,000 nearly new trucks have been returned to leasing firms and are being resold below market value. The lack of market growth prospects and the pressure of importers' machinery residuals forces us to show responsibility and take unpopular but necessary measures to reduce production, Kamaz said, calling the shortened work week a response to systemic distress. Monetary conditions remain tight but have eased compared to June. Russia's central bank governor Elvira said inflation is falling, credit is growing at a subdued pace. Kamaz is the second major Russian automaker this month to adopt a shortened work schedule. And within an hour of this going out, Gorky announced that they were going to follow suit and also reduce to a 4-day work week. So Russian car industry, it has some pressure from China, absolutely, and it's got pressure from sanctions. It's got general chaos pressure. I mean, they've got endemic corruption pressure, disorganization. I mean, it's a kleptocracy, and the war. The war. I mean, there's a big labor problem in Russia that has been known for quite a while. So part of the government solution here is to ease stress on the population that are increasingly unemployed or heading off to the front. Russia set to restrict gasoline exports for 2 months. 2 months, yeah. So the Russian government plans to implement a tighter ban on gasoline exports, including for producers, in an effort to stabilize domestic fuel prices. It's all been decided for now. It's for August and September. Yeah. Another source indicated the order could be signed before the end of the month. Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak's office declined to comment on the pending restrictions. Novak said earlier this month that authorities were considering a gasoline export ban, but any decision would depend on trends in the market, which are only higher and higher every day. They announced this, and we had our first drop today. It wasn't very substantial, like about 1.5% on the price of gas on the St. Petersburg Exchange today. Wholesale gasoline prices on the St. Petersburg International Mercantile Exchange have risen for 8 consecutive trading sessions since last week. On Thursday, wholesale prices for A95 gasoline reached a historic high. In late January, Russia extended a temporary gasoline export through February, exempting only fuel producers. This time, they're not exempting the fuel producers. It'll be everybody coming to the party. According to sources and Reuters calculations, Russia produced 18.6 million metric tons of gasoline between January and May 2025, of which 15.8 million were supplied to the domestic market. So, yeah, it's a pretty big hit. So that's about 4 million that they won't be able to, 3 million, they won't be able to export. So someone's going to be losing money here. And refining capacity has been hit pretty harshly by the 2 or 3 Ukrainian drone campaigns earlier this year. During the same period, Russia boosted gasoline exports by rail to ports and border crossings by nearly 25% compared to the first 5 months of 2024, reaching 2.5 million tons. So all that's gone now. They won't be allowing that anymore. So the gasoline industry, so for some reason they want to, they want to keep the population cool. It's one of the things. They need employment to be handled, and they need basic prices, food. Belarus has been sending in potatoes and crops now that Russia is a net food importer as of last month. So right now it's all about keeping the population cool, but not too cool, because if everyone's making money, if you don't have an impoverished underclass, it's really hard to get people to go off and die in Ukraine and in Putin's imperial wars. So it's the situation is only getting worse, and I'll keep updating you on it.